Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to end 2004. Yes, indeed, our Manic Monday series has come to an end, and it ends at the perfectly named pay-per-view, Armageddon. I am your host, Aeron, and joining me to cap off 2004, and possibly, quite possibly, one of his last Manic Mondays for quite a while, is Steve Neal.
Yeah, baby, we're going to go to December 2004 for Armageddon, and if this was your Christmas present, kids, a trip out to the, what is it, the Gwinnett Center in Georgia? Where the fuck is that? In Duluth, Georgia. Duluth? Fucking
Duluth.
Dull is about
Duluth.
right.
Gwinnett.
Dull is fucking right. It is absolute shit water up in... Ah! It is the worst Christmas present of all time. Oh my God. To be fair, I would have the... If Santa brought me tickets to this... I would have exactly the same reaction as Kurt Angle as soon as I next saw Santa Claus. You big fat fuck!
Yes, Santa Claus is going to get his, quite literally, on this pay-per-view. As Steve mentions, from the Gwinnett. So Gwinnett is a name that you give to one of your very elderly nan's friends. That's like, oh, Gwinnett's just popping round for tea later. What the fuck
That's
is
the
a
name
Gwinnett
of your
Centre?
auntie sister. Your fucking inbred
also...
Georgian fucks.
Yeah, I was just about to make an inbred joke about Georgia. Steve's in there first. 5,000 people watching this. When Big Show's on your poster, I am concerned, to say the very least. WWE Tag Team Championship to open up the show. Start as you mean to go on. RVD and Rey Mysterio, who are now the champs, defend against Kenzo Suzuki and Rene Dupree. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, instead of having the title change at Armageddon, they opted to have it on SmackDown 3 days before. And the highlight of this match was Hiroki in lingerie.
Yeah. That was like literally the whole premise was just fucking
Damn it, I said take your pants off.
Fapping over the concept of last week on SmackDown we saw Hiroku in her pants, and now we can see her pants again. I love pants. It's fucking shit. Kenzo Suzuki isn't very good, and Rene Dupree is really fucking stifled being in a tag team with him and has no, just fucking awful. And Rey Mysterio and Rob Van Dam are both just absolutely stoned off their tits and don't really care at this point. It's really long as well. It feels like it's about 20 minutes long. It goes on for ages.
And also, they must have known what was coming up after this. And they were like, lads, we need a double shift here. The problem is that Kenzo Suzuki cannot wrestle for shit. He's part of that long lineage of Japanese guys who come in and kick and punch you and just do everything strong style. And that doesn't work on WWE Entertainment because it's not a real based MMA style of wrestling. It's sports entertainment. Japanese guys. See Hideo Itami and Shinsuke Nakamura if you don't believe me. Rene Dupree is just so green and so young, and on top of that you got Fifi and Hiroko at ringside of Hiroko. It's Hiroko. What the fuck? Hiroko, it's just
Tori Wilson running around as well, trying to get everyone else's baps out.
It's just it's not horrible, but it's really boring and really mediocre. It's just like Rey Mysterio, right? He'll pick up pace and you think, yes, fucking great. And then all of a sudden it's like Kenzo Suzuki's like STO. It's like he's got nothing going on. Like he just hits him with a crappy punch or clothesline and the whole match slows right down again. So every time you get a little bit of excitement from RVD and Rey Mysterio, you then just completely hit with this lackluster notion of Rene Dupree or Kenzo Suzuki. And again, Rene Dupree, I thought they did all right last time I watched this match, but this one was just really shit and tedious. 1.5 stars, boring opener, and like you say, really long, way too long. Obviously you don't want to skip much, especially because I want people to take our reviews, well, not seriously, I want them to have fun, but I want them to know that we at least took it relatively seriously. But it's so hard not to just skip forward 9 or 10 minutes. Fuck it, just skip it.
100%.
Like, if I was watching this I remember I used to watch a lot of these shows live, and I'm pretty sure I remember watching this one live, and I'm thinking, I definitely would have fast forwarded this if I'd watched it on replay. I would have been like, nah, you're all right. The same way I used to, when I had the old Virgin TiVo box, when I did have Raw back in the day, I used to just fucking power power through about 2 hours of it easily, just hammering fast forward, watch the adverts while having a cup of tea, happy days. It's kind of the reverse of what the Americans do. When I watch it on TV, I watch the adverts and I just skip the rest of it. Yeah, tedious opener, 1.5 stars.
Yeah, no, I would say that's a fair rating, to be honest. It's not that the wrestling itself is bad, it was just really boring. And like, we've seen some really good stuff from Rey Mysterio, like his cruiserweight stuff with Chavo was excellent earlier in the year, but like his stuff with RVD in the tag division has actually been not that great, to be honest. And it should be amazing because they're both brilliant, but it doesn't work really.
Yeah, there's no dynamic, and neither guy is a very strong mic worker or character either. So there's no real emotional value to them. Speaking of emotional value, Kurt Angle versus Santa Claus, ladies and gentlemen, is your next matchup. Yeah, Kurt Angle versus Santa Claus. I repeat, Kurt Angle versus Santa Claus. Kurt Angle is kind of doing this whole sort of, walloping a rookie or giving people opportunities. Out comes Santa Claus. He seems quite jovial. And then he basically gets in Santa's face and says that because of Santa, his beautiful young daughter, who he worked so hard to entertain, so he worked so hard to put food on the table, his beautiful young girl believes in Santa Claus, and all she wants to do is write to him and not, praise the glorious father, the Olympic gold medalist that is him. It's just brilliantly done in the worst way. So gets in Santa Claus's face. There's that little bit where he does that creepy wave with 2 fingers, which is very alarming. Don't ever wave at a child with 2 fingers. What the hell are you doing? Just kind of very strange. He goes, "Hi, sweetie." He just looks at him. He's like, "I'm going to teach her a lesson by tapping out Santa Claus." And then he proceeds to wallop 10 bales of shite out of this fat bastard and tap him out. Fuck you, Santa Claus. Fuck Christmas. Fuck all of you.
Yeah, I don't know who played Santa, but the poor bastard, literally, I think he gets about 30 seconds of being kicked and punched in the face and then ankle locked and tapping out.
I do have it on good authority that it's Domino from Juice and Domino.
Amazing. The thing is that Kurt actually cuts a reasonable heel promo on Santa as well. It's so fucking...
Probably the best promo of the night.
Yeah, well, it definitely was.
Apart from Daniel Puder, obviously.
Well, obviously, yeah, the absolute charisma. Yes, Kurt Angle, victorious. And he'll be in action later in the night. Can he pick up victory number 2?
But what makes me laugh about that is, so in WWE, most people will know by now, especially smart up fans, that you're paid per appearance. So if you make a pay-per-view appearance, you get pay-per-view money. That's the idea. You get more. So obviously, that's why pay-per-view spots were always really crucial, and that's why the WrestleMania thing is such a laugh, because literally everyone's on it now. So does Kurt Angle get extra pay for walloping some fat cunt in a Santa Claus outfit?
He better do. He's earned his pay.
You could just see Vince McMahon, like, he's got a cigar on the go, he's got a glass of brandy, he's got his feet up in his executive chair gorilla position while Pat Patterson's giving him a hand job, and he just goes, "Hey, Kurt, come over here. Here's 10 grand. That was money. You taught that fat son of a bitch a lesson. Fucking walking around touching kids, that's my job."
There's no way that Vince doesn't hate Santa. There's no way that Vince didn't get something that he wanted as a kid and has just fucking borne a grudge against Santa ever since. Yeah. If anyone's going to be the Grinch in any scenario, then fucking Vince McMahon is the ultimate Grinch.
Got this image of like Vince McMahon Senior, and he's like brought all the wrestling promoters round. There's baby Vince. He's about 4 or 5 years old, and he's opening his presents, and one of them he's opening it, and he's just like, "What's this, Dad?" And his dad, I imagine he still talks like he does, like, "What the hell is this?" Even when he's 4. I just love that idea. And like his dad just leans over and he goes, "Oh, that's the Louisiana territories, and one day they'll be really important to the wrestling world. Well, I'm gonna bury these. This is shit. I want in a tongue contract." He just, oh, fuck.
He's got himself a Tonka truck now, and he's like,
yeah, he has. Nice.
I just love the idea of fucking cowboy Bill Watts bringing round a present for Vince, and Vince opens it, and it's just Bill Watts' fist punching Vince in the mouth. Fuck you, you little shit. Life is hard. The wrestling business is for tough
his
men.
hand through the bottom of the present, just like a jack in a box. Boom! Cowboy Watts just punches him in the nostrils. Have that, you cunt.
Wrestling's for real men.
Before that, he was fine, and then he got punched in the throat, and that's why he talks like this. God damn it! Like Cowboy Bill Watts ruined his voice.
Tracheotomy, courtesy of Bill Watts. Amazing.
Oh dear. Fucking phenomenal. I'll tell you what ain't phenomenal, a Dixie dogfight. So, at this point, Tough Enough is on the go, and as people will know, Tough Enough is a tournament, I use that incredibly loosely, reality TV show where they seek the next big thing in wrestling, and ultimately, it has to be said, they did find something pretty special in this series. So, and they also found something very special, if you understand what I mean by that. So, Daniel Puder is one of two finalists against a young man by the name of Mike Mizanin, who people, of course, know now as a main event of WrestleMania, The Miz. Like that guy, him, yeah, Mike Mizanin. Boy, has he changed a lot. The haircut, the state of it, bruv. So, Daniel Puder and Mike Mizanin have got themselves into the position of being the final two contestants of Tough Enough. Al Snow, from what I can tell, is head trainer. This is the Tough Enough where, rather famously, people like Taz and Hardcore Holly would injure people because, you know, welcome to the fucking biz, kid. And you wonder why those two are universally hated. That's fucking why. So yeah, here they are. And in classic reality carny bullshit, they're going to have a boxing match, a Dixie dog fight. And this is, bearing in mind, right, Mike Mizanin, okay, at this point is plucky, had a little bit, but not much wrestling training, guy from MTV's The Real World. So he's like, what's up, dude? Totally, dude. Like, proper surfing mark, fucking frat boy America.
Very 2000s. This is very 2000s.
He is an extra from American Pie. And across the ring from him is the slack-jawed Neanderthal, slightly brain-damaged MMA fighter, Daniel Puder, who is literally the antithesis of Mike Mizanin. And they both cut promos. And even then, I have to say, you could tell that Mike Mizanin, you know, The Miz, he had something about him. You could tell that he was just a natural entertainer and he was going to have something about him. Because it wasn't, you're not that far removed from him ending up with Morrison, and they were fucking gold at that point, and they're still gold now, by the way. Check out the old dirt sheets on YouTube. They are amazing. But, you know, Daniel Puder cuts a promo, gets his words wrong, which is really funny. And he sounds like, I actually wrote down here, is this guy related to Eugene? Because he's deliberately acting like him, and I think he doesn't understand. He's like, punch my what? He's having a seizure, for what I can tell, probably from the amount of times he's been hit in the fucking head. And then we're treated to this, with Al Snow on commentary as well. The only thing that would have made this acceptable is if Mick Foley had sat next to him and then was commentating on Al Snow commentating while rinsing the shit out of him like he does in his autobiography and his DVD, when he gives the alternate commentary for Kenneth from Hell. That alone is worth the fucking entrance fee. Absolutely amazing. And also Al Snow's penis. Ha 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 ha. Running joke forevermore in wrestling. This is horrible. It's so horrible, it's kind of good. It's one of those things where I'm like, so I've given it half a star, but ultimately it's 5-star crap. That's what it is. And this is just basically Daniel Puder batting around The Miz while he windmills like a child because he's got no idea how to box. See, it's incredible. It is literally like watching, honestly, right? This was about as one-sided as Fury versus Wilder from the weekend. My lord, like it's like watching a child have a fight with a fucking hungry panther. It's unreal. He's just slapping him around. Like, and the thing is, like, The Miz doesn't actually get punched that much. Like, Puder actually looks like he's trying to hit him. The Miz is just so rapid and so wild. He has a hard time connecting, but when he does, my God, he waffles him, doesn't he? And to be fair to them, is also one thing, because they look shoot punches to me. He stood up and took them. So, you know, he's tougher than people think. And, yeah, he's not far removed from being abused by Chris Benoit and forced to, you know, change in the outside in the corridor, there's stories of J.B.L. abusing him and throwing him out and making him, he's kind of been a star born out of this baptism of fire. And this is kind of the first thing. So although it's fucking garbage, it's probably worth a watch just so you can get a feel for just how far The Miz has come as an entertainer or wrestler. But Daniel Puder, Jesus Christ, what a fucking load of shit. You can see why he got jobbed out and immediately shit-canned by the company after he won. But he won Tough Enough, which is a tragic case. And ultimately, The Miz joins that long line of famous runner-ups, like Girls Aloud from Pop Idol. And Little X from the X Factor. He rises above the person who won and ultimately
Susan Boyle.
Susan Boyle, second to a large outfit of black gentlemen. Diversity, diversity. It was diversity, and then Susan Boyle was second. Yeah, and to be fair, diversity did all right, but there's not a patch on Susan Boyle, who made a guest appearance in Futurama. Fucking have it. So yeah. Let's just talk about Britain's Got Talent's fucking woeful exits now, because that's basically what this was. Britain's Got Talent. It's fucking hilarious. What was your point of view of this horrendous car crash?
I thought it was probably the best boxing fight that we've seen since Ali Frazier, to be honest. I thought this was a thriller in Manila, but it was a Dixie dog. The funny thing about this, right, is fucking Teddy Long comes out to hype it up. Hey, players, we're going to come and see the Dixie dog fight, players. Hey, players, everybody's interested, right, players? And people are just sitting there. The crowd could not give a fuck. Honestly, couldn't give a shit. There was not one cheer for Teddy Long, who is a very charismatic and entertaining man. And, no one cares. But the thing is, Puder actually is relatively over and gets quite a good reaction. Yeah, and he's the one that, the fans choose for him to win. Obviously, the whole series, but also this Dixie dogfight because it's voted on by the audience. It's not like we've got some form of proper judging system by whatever going on that's going to make
like Taboo Tuesday.
It's going to be fan choice. This is just Miz cannot punch for shit. He cannot punch. It's hilarious to watch, but this is just like 5 minutes of your life that you'll never get back watching it. But as you say, it's so bad that it actually ends up being really fucking entertaining, and it shouldn't be. Speaking of really entertaining, wait till you see what comes next.
Yeah, half a star for the Dixie dogfight, and that's all you're getting out of me, boys. And that's only because I was so entertained, I didn't want to give it anything minus. Oh boy. So Eddie and Booker T backstage, like this little promo. This is probably one of the highlights of the show, which says a lot. Really love the fact Eddie and Booker T are basically going, they're like, we're gonna. It's so funny. They're talking about how they're gonna obviously wreck J.B.L. in the main event. J.B.L's gonna finally get his comeuppance, and then Eddie Guerrero's like, what about El Hombre de Muertos, bro? It's just like Booker T looks at him like, I don't quite understand what that means, which is really funny.
Excuse me.
Which obviously in Mexican, of course, surprise, translates as the dead man. And then Undertaker rather brilliantly just comes in like some unbelievably psychotic demon headmaster and just kind of stands behind them and stares at them, almost like he, almost how I imagine the average stalker does when they're sitting in a hedge watching the love of their life, but they're too scared to actually approach them properly. He's just kind of staring at them, like very intense. I love how Eddie Guerrero's like looking sort of, huh? Oh, fuck's sake. Bollocks. And, I like this.
But Booker T just keeps running his mouth. Booker T's just sitting there just going, I'm going to kick his ass. You don't have to worry about the Undertaker. I'm going to beat the shit out of the Undertaker. And Eddie Guerrero's like, mate, shut up, shut your mouth, shut up.
The fuck up.
It's really good.
It's fucking,
it's really good.
Yeah, these two guys, obviously a great deal of fun. And I'll tell you what's fun, Meryl. The Bashams versus Hardcore Holly and Charlie Haas. And you're in for a treat when Taz announces at the beginning of this match, this is a match that was made on Sunday Night Heat.
That's where all of our favourite matches have come from.
Tell me all about Hardcore Holly and Charlie Haas, Steve. Tell the kids a story about the Basham brothers. Tell us, Uncle Steve. Can you imagine when you're when you're a father in the future, Steve? Can you imagine your child when he's old enough to listen to the Wrestle Plug, and he'll be like, Steve, Daddy Steve, tell me another story about the Bashams. God damn it! I can just see it now. 50-year-old Steve, shut up about the fucking Bashams.
The thing is, right, we saw the Bashams quite a bit in sort of the lead up to WrestleMania, the first part of the year. They were on SmackDown pay-per-views around that time. I think they were the tag champions at the start of the year, Royal Rumble time, tag champs. So, you know, they had a decent run. We haven't seen them for about 6 months, and suddenly they're back on pay-per-view. But they're not going to be up against any old tag team, no. They're going to be against thrown together tag team, Hardcore Holly and Charlie Haas. And this whole match, which is far too long and is awful. We cannot stress enough how bad this match is and how silent the crowd is for a match that has zero build, zero storyline, zero charisma, zero star.
Charlie Haas in the ring, mate.
And then it's just a vehicle so that you can have fucking Dawn Marie and Miss Jackie, who are going to be squaring off later in the night, come down and sort of interrupt this sort of match at the end that ends up costing the Charlie Haas Hardcore Holly tag team. Hardcore Holly eats the pin from whichever Basham brother. Doesn't matter which Basham brother. No one gives a fuck. And, you know, Bob Holly and Charlie Haas can have a little bit of an argument. And Charlie Haas keeps, I'm really sorry that I cost you. These bitches are out of control. Hardcore Holly's like, get your damn head in the game. You gotta have your head in the game, man. Alabamans, we don't let our sister wives come down here and get in our way. It's fucking nonsense, mate. It's
if Charlie
so
Haas
shit.
had spoken like that, I would have loved him so much. He'd just been like, all these bitches, bro, I can't have them. It's fucking brilliant.
Mate, well, to be fair, he is going to have his career high point later on in the night, but this match is as bad as it gets from a wrestling perspective. It is crickets. It's awful to watch. It's awkward. It's so bad and so devoid of any emoting from the crowd whatsoever. You feel awkward watching it. It's fucking cringeworthy.
Yeah, the match ends when Charlie Haas, while he's trying to divide Dawn Marie and Ms. Jackie, who are essentially warring over him, Hardcore Holly gets rolled up. And if you watch very closely, not so closely, you could probably have spotted this from the back row of the arena. Hardcore Holly's shoulder is about a foot off the canvas.
Yeah. Hardcore Holly's not going to take that pin clean. Fuck you. I'm Bob Holly, like, damn it.
He's going full Hulk Hogan. You got to know, brother, if you go for the pin, I'll kick out at one, brother. It's just unnecessary. Why is this a thing? Like, half a star again. Terrible. Utterly terrible. I believe Meltzer gives these kind of matches a dud. Never mind that, mate. I would have rather been sucking on a milk dud. Fucking atrocious. Why? On a pay-per-view, no less. This, right, is what you should be having as the opener of Sunday Night Heat, right before you get the WWE Experience package, where Michael Cole tells you all about the upcoming dates in Berlin, Germany. And instead, we get it as a fucking mid-card match on this pay-per-view. But don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, because after this fucking half-star abortion is the United States title match, no disqualification and falls count anywhere, as Tony Chibble points out, because one isn't enough. John Cena versus Jesus. He's not Jesus. He's fucking Jesus. All right? You're not fucking Latin. Who is this guy? Okay, so this is where we get to talk even more. We discussed this on Survivor Series. John Cena was stabbed, ladies and gentlemen, in a gentleman's club. Not in a nightclub, a gentleman's club, which is translation for he was at the strip club getting down with some funky hoes. That's what was going on here. So apparently this Jesus fella, who is now the bodyguard of the relatively new Carlito, who won the United States Championship on his debut. Congratulations, mate. Who goes over John Cena on their debut? Kevin Owens, that's who. At least main roster. So yeah, Jesus, the bodyguard of Carlito, stabbed John Cena in a gentleman's club. And not a month later, John Cena, yes, ladies and gentlemen, that John Cena who was stabbed in the back, stabbed, apparently fighting for his life, fighting for his kidney's life. Turns out doesn't even have a scar, mate. And people wonder why people are angered by the concept of John Cena as Super Cena. He got stabbed and they didn't even fucking try. But the makeup department were like, here you go. They haven't even put, I'm sorry, right? That's not a plaster. I know what that is, okay? We've all got partners. Me and Steve know what a fucking maxi pad is. That's what that is, bruv. It's been fucking taped to his back. Yeah, because you know why? Because he's probably having a period from all the fucking shit nonsense coming out of him.
Is this you know what that is? It's like, when so I'm trying to quit smoking, I'm going to put a nicotine patch on. This is like a roid patch. A John Cena roid patch. I'm trying to get off the roids, man.
Weed himself off with just a little bit of testosterone, just not too much, just a little
I'm just vaping the roids now.
That's why he was scared of Eddie Guerrero, like, showing up at Survivor Series and letting the cat out of the bag as he did in that promo. He's like, don't touch me. That's my roids. I need that. That's my testosterone, man. It's like scratching himself. He was like, get away from me. So, yeah, John Cena versus Jesus for the United States Championship because Carlito is injured. Jesus, as they say in Botchamania. This is a fucking third match in a row. Steaming pile of John Cena horseshit, and this is yet again one of my exhibits for why John Cena is the most overrated pile of crap in wrestling. Do you know what? I kind of got brainwashed into thinking, oh, he's worked so hard, he's like a legend because of his work rate. Oh, he's done so much for the business. Oh, he makes so many wishes for kids. I don't give a shit. Fuck you. You can't work with anyone unless it's like AJ Styles, or CM Punk at a stretch. You can't work for shit. You are a terrible wrestler. You're not entertaining. This gimmick fucking pisses me off as well, by the way. Like, this is arguably the most tolerable version of him as well, because he's not in rapping mode, is he? He's just like, I've got a black t-shirt and I'm going to fuck you up because you stabbed me. Like, at least there is a certain degree of rage and storytelling, at least in the first couple of minutes, and then he just jobs him out. He gets one shot in, which is a kendo stick shot, which he completely no-sells. Surprise, because that's basically all John Cena has done his whole fucking career is no-sell everybody who comes at him with offense. And here we are. He just squashes him in about, I don't know how long it was, about 10 minutes? Pointless. Just runs him over, batters him. Carlito's at ringside and then runs away a few times because, haha, sneaky little Latin heel, you dirty Puerto Rican, get out of here. Like, absolutely fucking useless. Another pointless match. Instead of being given this big kind of payback angle where John Cena goes against Carlito, instead he ran over Carlito, didn't he, on SmackDown after Survivor Series, got his US title back. And then he runs over, and then they build to, he steals his chain. I mean, stabbing is one thing, mate. Stabbing, right? That's one thing. You don't touch a man's chain. You can stab me in the rectum for all you like, bruv, but you fucking take my chain. Shit's getting real. I haven't even got a key for that. That goes around my neck. Like, what the fuck is this? Fuck you.
Give back my chops.
Fuck you. Who wrote this? I bet this is Stephanie, innit? When she was in her infancy. What a pile of shit this is. What a pile of creative wank, toss, utter shit. You want to talk about, do you know what? I'm desperate. I was watching this thinking, oh, please give me some more rape with Kane. Please. At least those guys can carry rape. Like, Kane pulls off rapist better than John Cena pulls off burying a fucking giant job. And also, you're supposed to be this cool, hardcore Latin hitman. Why are you dressed like Dick Tracy had a wank in a dustbin and then went onto the Smooth Criminal fucking video set for Michael Jackson? You look like shit. No wonder you didn't last 6 months, you fucking not. He looks like a fucking paedophile. That's what he looks like. He looks fucking ridiculous. He's got red trousers on, braces. You're shit. You can't wrestle. You don't look properly. Like, fuck you. What an abortion. What an absolutely, honestly, it looks like this is basically what happened after Lita had the miscarriage. In inverted commas. That's what came out of her fucking vagina. Is this miserable congealed part of stool that is Jesus. Jesus, and they somehow moulded it together, a bit like fucking Bono from the South Park episode, where it turns out he's made completely out of shit, and he's just the greatest number 2 ever. And this is what's happened with Jesus. Vince McMahon has got all this fetal juice and this fucking excrement and put it together and got, here you go, have that as a bodyguard. Stick it with that Puerto Rican geezer over there with the hilarious hair whose real name is Carly for some reason. No idea. Apparently that's a fucking man's name in Puerto Rico. What the fucking state of this fucking match as well? Fuck off. Shit.
5-star for me. I thought it was really good.
I'll kill you. I'll actually kill you.
It is terrible. It is terrible. A street fight that...
Don't you dare come at me about Joe Coffey and Volta ever again after watching this dog shit. This makes Volta look like a second coming of Stan Hansen.
They have this... The storyline is he stabbed me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tip a bin on his head. That'll fucking show him, mate. If I got stabbed, that'd be the first thing I'd do. I'd tip up the fucking biffer all over him. Fuck you. He... slaps him about, punch kick through the fans, throw him into the commentary table or whatever. Not through it, just on it. And then back into the ring and then just fucking pumps up FU pin. It's just shit. As you say, he no-sells the one bit of offense that Jesus gets in. And it's still, 8 minutes long. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's the longest squash in history. If you're going to do a squash, just do it in 30 seconds and don't take up my time. But no, they go out for far too long. And then you've still got Carlito trying to steal chains and all that shit. And, it's just wank. And I really liked Carlito. And obviously we know, John Cena is what he is. We know the status that he has in the business. But my God, this was dreadful. It doesn't even tell the story that they are supposed to be telling about, I'm out to get revenge because I've been stabbed. There's a fucking horrendous crime that's been committed against me. Only a month ago, I almost lost a fucking kidney. I've had, dialysis in the dick. And now I've got to come out here and fight fucking the guy who did it, who fortunately was not prosecuted by the police. Even after stealing a fucking car on pay-per-view at Survivor Series, he's still wandering about on national TV, broadcast all over the world. He wasn't prosecuted. He's now swanning about, nicking some chains, and then getting shoved in a fucking bin. It's ridiculous. It's so shit. And it's not entertaining. It's not even funny. It's not even a funny, entertaining match. It's crap. And this is a street fight in the ruthless aggression era. So they are allowed to bleed. Fucking hell, Ric Flair bleeds every time he sneezes. If J.B.L. walks past a Lego, he gets busted wide open. And this is a blood feud because he's been stabbed and is getting his revenge. And the only real weapon they use is they use a steel chair a couple of times and they use the kendo stick. He breaks the kendo stick over Jesus in the ring early doors after no-selling the kendo stick shot to him. It's just fucking awful. Awful. It's terrible. It doesn't have any drama. It doesn't have any humour. It doesn't have any wrestling. It doesn't have anything that's particularly hardcore. It's shit and it's way too long. I had a quick look on the Wikipedia of Jesus, who, by the way, is also Uno. He was Uno in WWE, just in case you were wondering. And I went to see what championship and accomplishments he has. And it's got that he was the heavyweight champion of Empire Wrestling Federation. He was a 3-time tag team champion for the Californian UPW, which is the shitter UPW. And he won a battle royal once for All Japan Pro Wrestling in 2009. Those are his achievements. They're just fucking load of absolute bollocks. I hated this. I hated it. And it also, by the way, if I stab someone, I get the shot at the title that they have is an amazing fucking idea. So all I need to do now is go and find fucking Kairi Sane, stab her in front of her new husband, and I get a fucking shot at the women's tag titles. This is incredible news. I'll pass it on to Alexa Bliss. This is fucking ridiculous. Go away.
Minus half a star. Fuck off.
That's generous.
Yeah, and I really was angered by this. I was watching this and just... Do you know what fucks me off the most? It's not even... Jesus is a steaming fetal abortion. I made that very clear in my earlier rant, as have you with the fantastic follow-up. This might arguably be our most highest rated segment of all time. But what fucks me off is there's this myth that John Cena, like, if you're in a ring with John Cena, he elevates you. Now, I appreciate he's only been around for just over a year at this point, but I'm not seeing this superstar that they are. This was shit. There was no saving grace. His emotion was crap. Like, just the whole thing didn't work at all. It didn't work. And what winds me up is when people say to me, well, John Cena, you have to appreciate when you're in there with John Cena, he elevates you. No, it doesn't. Doesn't elevate jack shit. Couldn't even elevate his own fucking penis in this, man. Fucking dreadful. Go fuck yourself. Really fucking wound me up. Seriously, fuck off. That's it. I'm done. I thought Manic Mondays overall has been a fun series, but this can go fuck itself in every single hole, including the urethra. Fucking awful. Absolutely awful. Jackie and Charlie backstage. Thank you for that. Haas is basically saying, don't forget your engagement ring. You better take that off if you're going out there to have a match. And he's basically, Miss Jackie sort of saying, oh, I love you so much, Charlie. And once this is out of the way, we can get married and be happy together.
This is where they make out, isn't it? And it's fucking horrific. Like, there's tongue everywhere. It's like watching a couple of octopi. Fuck. That's right, octopi. I didn't say octopuses. Grammatically correct. Fuck you.
Fucking octopus.
It was just fucking, it was awful. It was literally, I was, ugh. This isn't even a pornographic hit. It's just, ugh.
You got this image of you go, ugh.
It literally was. Just like Mr. Burns shuddering. This is exactly where it was.
Smithers, there's a rocket in my pocket. Oh dear. So this builds in nicely because up next is the classic. But you think we're mad now. So we've had 3 matches, right? And I've given them a combined rating of half a star. Because you have to take away half. Ridiculous.
Amazing.
So, here we are. Dawn Marie versus Jackie Gayda. I mean, the name says Dawn Marie.
Gayda!
I'm sensing a shift. Where was Rico when you needed him? Where is he? God damn it. Nope, he's gone. Fuck you. He's gay. That's what Vince McMahon basically had in mind. Dawn Marie versus Jackie Gayda. Is this a match? Not really. I don't actually remember any wrestling in this at all. I don't remember anything other than take her clothes off, shame her, she's a whore.
There was just some like stepping close to each other and then someone falling over. Like it was really poor. It was only a minute long, thankfully.
Yeah, Dawn Marie gets the win. She rolls out, and of course, Charlie Haas is the guest referee, and he counts the pin, and he counts it fairly, and then gets that kind of, how could you, Charlie? So. At the end of the match, Dawn Marie has been implying that Charlie's been having an affair with her, and Haas, in the ultimate moment of his career, gets on the microphone and he sort of says, a lot of people, they've said that, I've been cheating on Jackie with Dawn Marie, and then he just goes full, like, he does the whole, I'm sorry, I didn't do it earlier. It's one of those promos. Berries, fucking berries. Jake just goes, yeah, I am having an affair with Dawn Marie. Like you could see Vince going, yes, I love it. This is exactly what I was doing. Pat Patterson, you better jerk that fucking thing like you've never jerked a man's cock before. Come on, work it, Pat. And so he's, I swear I haven't taken any cocaine before this podcast, so it might seem like it. I fucking needed cocaine.
My dick's like Hulk Hogan, Pat. He'll never tap out. Just keep beating it.
I like the idea that his cock talks like Hulk Hogan. So like Pat Patterson's beating him off.
He's got a little bandana on his cock and he's just making
a little handlebar moustache that Pat Patterson can hold on to. And even his cock is like, oh yeah, that's right, brother. You got to make sure I kick out of one, brother. So Charlie Haas basically says, fuck you, Jackie. Me and Dawn have been having an affair. And then he gets the ring that he had given to Jackie, which he took off her. See, that for some weird reason, I couldn't believe how good that was. Well, that ties into that promo really well. What the hell just happened there? He then gets down on one knee and he says, Dawn, and she's like, oh my God, he's going to. He goes, you are the biggest slut I've ever seen. And he calls her a slut. And he gets at it. He just basically goes, you two deserve each other. Maybe you should marry each other. And basically mugs both of them off. And the crowd give him warm applause. Which I think
the biggest pop of the night.
Yeah, George is like, yeah, that's right. Now you should go home and fuck your sister because fuck them two bitches. They're there for vaginas. Fuck you, bitch. That Dawn Marie's all fake anyway. My cousin's got far better tits than her. And he's a man. It's just... This is getting out of control and I don't care.
The whole thing where he turns around and he goes, well, I had to do Dawn Marie because Jackie, making love to you's like making love to a wet dead fish.
I forgot about that.
Goes, whereas making love to Miss Jackie, to Dawn Marie is, oh my God. He's just coming in his pants. It's fucking amazing. Oh, I loved it. It was so good. The best thing that Charlie Haas has ever done, and literally my favourite moment of 2004 is Charlie Haas, the year of Haas. Fucking amazing.
This for me completely it completely overtakes when he knocked Lillian Garcia off the ring apron. This is amazing. Absolute money. The match is -1 star, and that's being generous because it's not a match. That's more than a dud. And ultimately, Charlie Haas gets 7 stars for his performance afterwards. This is by far and away the highlight of his career. Absolutely incredible. And we'll see you in a couple of years when you and Shelton Benjamin, for some reason, are tagging up as the world's greatest tag team in Ring of Honor. No idea why. But it is what it is.
No.
So, yeah, that's 4 straight matches with a combined total of -1.5 stars. Actually, wait. -1. Oh, I don't give a shit. Fuck it. You're all shit. Fuck you. And then, as if I'm not shell-shocked enough, I get the joy of seeing the beautiful Joy Giovanni getting off with the Big Show. What's going on here?
That was so weird.
Why?
Why show? Be careful out there. What the fuck is going on?
Now, admittedly, if Joy Giovanni got off with me, I would happily take on an Olympian and his 2 roided heavies in a fight because, my God, she fan. However, your following contest is a 3-on-1 handicap match. Yes, that's right. That ever fucking so good technical wrestler, the Big Show, faces Kurt Angle, not bad. Luther Reigns, not good. And Mark Jindrak, really not good. In a 3-on-1 handicap match. And you know what's even better than this shit fest? The Big Show beats him. Fuck all of you. This might be... Now, I was actually quite complimentary about their match that they had at their last show. I can't remember which one it was. No Mercy, something like that, whatever. Don't care. Whatever, who gives a shit? 2004 is almost done, and as you can tell, I don't give a shit. Simply put, I thought it was quite good. I thought the story was told, you weren't as hot on it, but you admitted that it wasn't bad, especially by Big Show standards. This is exactly what I expect out of a Big Show match. It was slow, it was boring, it was tedious. It was arguably one of the worst matches I've ever seen Kurt Angle in, and that is a real problem, because he is one of the greatest of all time. This is awful. By the way, Mark Jindrak and Luther Reigns, get the fuck out. What is...
Jindrak versus Triple H for WrestleMania this year, please.
Oh. I can't believe Mark Jindrak almost was in Evolution. Until they picked Orton last minute.
The seeds of for WrestleMania have been
It's built, isn't it? It's perfect. 20 years in the making. Do not give Vince bad ideas, because he will listen to this and be like, Jindrak, Triple H, money. No, he'll put that ahead of muscles. That's better than Brock and Drew. I never like Scottish people anyway. Fuck him. This is shit as well. This is what, 5th match in a row? Come on, give me something. God, where's Spike Dudley, man? I'm desperate at this point for Spike. I'm like, Spike, save me, bro. Where's Chavo? Where's Paul London? Where's somebody who can wrestle? Fucking hell. Throw bloody Sylvain Grenier out here. Rob Conway. Anybody. Nah, fuck it. It's your 5th shitfest. And I know, you could just tell, because Vince McMahon's clearly in control of SmackDown. It's completely out of control, this show. It is one of the worst booked and creative storyline shows of all time. Genuinely, I mean that. It is a fucking bleeding fetus. It is horrific. Like, and this is Kurt Angle bit fucking shit. This is shit. How long was this match? 12 minutes? 30?
10 minutes.
10 minutes, way too long. It was 10 minutes too long. Shouldn't have been a match. Why is Kurt Angle being wasted on I'm gonna smash in Joy Giovanni? By the way, the sheer concept of a woman that small being fucked by the Big Show, what a terrifying concept.
Like what are they called? Catherine wheel, where you can spin them all the way around. Like, brilliant.
Yeah, he would have quite literally torn her asunder. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Unless Val Venus and his prophecy is true when he goes, oh, and they call you the Big Show. There's a big callback for you. Goldust TV, GTV. Yeah, no, terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah, I hated it. And you just think Kurt Angle came back from a broken neck to feud with the Big Show. Like, he got to have an okay match with Eddie Guerrero, which it's good, but was not up to the standard that they'd set earlier in the year. And then go straight into a feud with Big Show, a tranquilizer gun, and fucking Luther Reigns. It's just honestly fucking awful. Like, you just think, what has he done? Like, he's come back from a neck injury, and it's like Vince is like, what, you were injured? You fucking pussy. You can get in there with a Big Show, and he's going to squash you in 5 minutes. Bearing in mind, at Survivor Series, like, his entire team was decimated when they had, like, an advantage of people, and then he still ends up losing and just getting dicked on by the Big Show and Eddie Guerrero. Like, it was just... It's not been a vintage year for Kurt Angle after that amazing start with, you know, the match they had at WrestleMania with Angle. And then he's just, I absolutely despise this match. I didn't enjoy the angle anyway. And just a weird way to try and shoehorn it. Like, look, Jindrak, you could have been in Evolution and been the breakout star that Randy Orton has become. Or I think he was supposed to be in there instead of Batista. Whatever it was, like the breakout star that Batista became. Like, obviously, you know, we know it was a good decision, but instead, as like a consolation prize, we're going to put you with Luther Reigns. I know you wanted to be in there with Triple H and Ric Flair, but you could be in there with Luther Reigns. It's fucking awful, absolute shit. Just Kurt Angle just doesn't belong in this. Like, if Big Show beat Reigns and Jindrak in a 2-on-1 handicap match in 2 minutes on an episode of SmackDown, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But throwing Kurt Angle into this is just a fucking disgrace.
Half a star.
We're improving. Positive numbers.
Positive numbers. Fucking hell. Do you know what? Meltzer, like, for all the shit he gets, he has to watch this stuff and rate it. So I've got nothing but respect, because I would have flipped my fucking wig at this point. I would have lost my mind. I was begging for Spike Dudley, and I got Spike Dudley. I got Spike Dudley backstage with a promo, and Funaki going, knock, knock. Who's there? Armageddon. Armageddon who? Armageddon, your title? What the fucking racist shit was that?
Japanese dad jokes.
I wish he just... sorry. I really wish he'd gone, no cruiserweight title for you. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable levels of...
Takey title, $5.
Aye, choppy, your title reign. Ironically enough, he was around for that too as a member of Carnage.
Indeed he was.
Yes, he was, bless his heart. He was responsible for the shrinkage that Val Venus occurred, which saved his bell end, although he is now very well circumcised. Congratulations, Val Venus. Oh, by the way, you're a piece of shit. I've seen what you've been up to on social media, mate. Fucking hell. Lay off the weeding, bruv. Spike Dudley defends his cruiserweight title against Funaki. Now, it should be pointed out that Spike Dudley, as you mentioned at the last preview, has had this astonishing long-term reign as cruiserweight champion. In this reign, Spike Dudley has knocked off Billy Kidman. He's knocked off Paul London, Chavo Guerrero. He's even knocked off a certified WWE Hall of Famer in Rey Mysterio. But can he knock off Funaki? Short answer, no. Funaki wins the Cruiserweight Championship. Yeah. Fuck you. And the really funny thing is...
Do you remember Back at like No Way Out, when there was like Chavo Guerrero and Rey Mysterio running around as tag champs, or sorry, as cruiserweight title rivals. It was a rivalry that went on for a few months, and now we've got Funaki versus Spike Dudley. Mate, bring back Nunzio.
We even said like, oh, look at this great match between Paul London and Billy Kidman. Like, they've really taken Cruiserweight Championship Wrestling very seriously this year. They've given them plenty of time, and then in one fell swoop, Vince McMahon comes like, give it to that Japanese guy. He's funny. What the hell? Like, I've got nothing against Funaki.
This was.
But, yeah, what fucking hell, way too long. It's not that bad a match, like, considering who's involved, but it's not great either. Like, I gave it 1.5, and that is a massive improvement on what I've seen previously, but ultimately, it's just another pointless throwaway match with a title. And, you know, the crowd love it. The crowd are quite warm to the idea of Funaki winning. It was quite fun. And I must admit, he's very entertaining. He's very entertaining.
Yeah, everyone loves Funaki.
Loved him and Taka Michinoku. Indeed. Thought that was great stuff. They took arguably one of the most racist angles against Asian wrestlers. You know, we talk about so much, don't we, about Japanese guys and all that. These two actually made it fucking work. Him and Taka, you know, who were serious wrestlers from the NJPW dojo and all that kind of stuff, they actually came in and did all right. They worked hard and they were funny and entertaining, and I enjoyed them for it. But again, why is this even on a pay-per-view? Like, it's not that great, man. Spike Dudley, after all that work, Spike Dudley has his legs cut off. It's just pointless. Terrible booking. Oh, yeah, I overcame all these people, but I can't overcome Wingus and Dingus over here pretending to be an announcer.
Where were the Dudleys? They weren't on this card at all.
They're injured, apparently, at this point. Okay. So that's why, yeah, to be fair to Michael Cole, he does mention that at the beginning of the match. He says that, Spike Dudley and Taz having Taz and Michael Cole having this conversation. And, by the way, while we're mentioning Taz, I really did enjoy earlier in the night when Kurt Angle beat the shit out of Santa Claus, because that was the last time I remember anything good happening on this pay-per-view, by the way. And during that promo, Kurt Angle actually calls Taz an Oompa Loompa. Taz is what the fuck, man?
Taz is like, hey, we're friends.
We're supposed to be friends. What up, bro? That is really funny. But yeah, he does, to his credit, this is the one time they bothered to tell a story the whole match, and they say, oh yeah, the Dudleys aren't here, they've been injured for about a month or so, and Spike Dudley, to be fair, hasn't lost a step. Well, he has now. Funaki's your new Cruiserweight Champion, 1.5 stars.
Yeah, I mean, everyone loves Funaki. Like, if anyone was watching the season 2 of the Edge and Christian show on the WWE Network, when like all of his little appearances in it are real great, they're properly funny, particularly in the last episode of the series. He's just brilliant. Love Funaki. Great sports. I mean, he really got like the kind of American humor or the Western humor that he needed to kind of bring to this kind of a product. And he delivered on it, I thought, consistently for a lot of years, as you're saying, Kai and Tai in particular, but it's just, he's one of those guys that you're always going to love. He's just a really likable kind of, there's something charming about Funaki. So I've got no problem with him winning the title to an extent. If he had been sort of built consistently as being a credible challenger, and he really hasn't, like, at all. He's almost been treated as he was treated for most of his career, which is as a comedy guy, which is fine, but then don't have him win the title. And also you're looking at it and Funaki versus Spike Dudley doesn't exactly scream pay-per-view. It's like if I was looking at this card, I'm not too sure. It's like $19.99 on Sky Sports box office to buy this pay-per-view. Not sure. Let's have a look at the matches. 3-on-1 handicap match. Big Show. Luther fucking Reigns. Jindrak and Kurt Angle. Nope. The Bashams versus Holly and fucking Haas. Nope. Dawn Marie. Nope. And then I get to say, hang on, Cruiserweight title? Spike Dudley versus fucking Funaki? No. There's nothing that's selling this pay-per-view to me whatsoever. So, just such a weird choice. I'm happy for Funaki, but my God, it's bizarre.
Yeah, that actually sums up very well. Very happy for Funaki, but it's bizarre and doesn't belong here. And as the pay-per-view song would suggest, the end is here, finally. Our last ever match in this wonderful Manic Monday series. and leave it up to SmackDown with one of the worst shows I've ever seen to throw out a sneaky banger at the end just to remind you of what can happen when people actually fucking try. For the world... Well, for the WWE Championship, a fatal four-way, J.B.L. defends his title against Eddie Guerrero, The Undertaker, and Booker T. That's why the show was shit, ladies and gentlemen, because the 4 wrestlers they had, other than Kurt Angle, were all in the bloody main event. That's why you just, my God, seriously, Raw, throw him a bone. Fuck, give him Benoit back at least. Christ almighty. This was good. This was very good, actually. I quite enjoyed this. I'll tell you what I really enjoyed, though, and it's what will fly under the radar, is the actual brilliance of the story that was being told as JBL was going to the ring. I love the stuff backstage with the cabinet, where it was almost kind of like he kind of basically accepted, so the story goes at least, so you're thinking, accepted that he was going to lose his belt. He was like, looking at his belt so longingly, and he does a good job here, and everyone does a good job. I loved Orlando Jordan with his little bromance moment where he's like, go out there and go and get it, champ. It's just so random. The scintillating Amy Weber, who at the time was his PR consultant, she was like, oh, I'll still do PR for you, even if you're not champion. And the Bashams summon up what little charisma and emotion they have. Really like this. Really like the way he was kind of kept looking back at them all, and they're all looking at him as if to say, like, what's going to happen? Like, this kind of, everyone's accepted this longing fate, and out he goes as this cowardly champion who's finally going to get his comeuppance against the 3 men that he's stitched up in back-to-back-to-back title matches. He stitched up Taker so many times, cost Eddie Guerrero his title, and then of course Kurt Angle intervened, and then Booker T at the last show as well. It's actually really well done, and I enjoyed the psychology of the match. There's a little bit of quality in there, of course. Eddie Guerrero going well. Undertaker's obviously up for it because he's actually in the ring with guys who can work well. It was good. It was a pretty good main event to round off one of the worst pay-per-views I've ever seen.
I loved the main event. I really enjoyed it. The stuff between Eddie and Taker was great. I really enjoyed that. Stuff between Eddie and Booker was really, really good as well. We actually got some good wrestling, and then JBL kept sort of sneaking in, hitting someone with a big lariat, trying to get a pin, and it was just actually all 4 guys, and I include JBL in that, and I don't praise JBL very often, but actually did very, very well. As you say, they told a great story. They all played their roles well and made it fit, which is one of the harder things to do with multi-man matches. I can get quite tuned out with multi-man matches sometimes because, well, nowadays they're a spot fest, really, and there's not a story to it. It's just a load of guys trying to get their shit in. But this was actually telling a really, really good story. And of course, let's not forget that to ensure that Undertaker doesn't win, Heidenreich has escaped from the insane asylum, and he's come down. He's got to beat the shit out of Undertaker. Okay, now I love that. It was just, really, really good fun, and a good way to close out the show. But as you say, it just felt like it was a very, very top-heavy card, and by top-heavy I mean one match was really stacked. Everything else was an absolute waste of my time. It was a wasteland, Armageddon, a post-apocalyptic wasteland indeed. But as a main event, it was a nice way to round out the year, even if the pay-per-view was a really terrible kind of footnote to 2004.
Why fucking awful, horrific pay-per-view. The main event was very good. 3.5 stars, just a shade off 4 for me. Pretty good stuff. Really enjoyed it. Loved seeing Heidenreich kick again. I was like, yes, Heidenreich. I don't know why I popped for him. I think he's really funny. I just love him, man. Of course, this would lead into a casket match between Heidenreich and The Undertaker. Phenomenal. And I mean that very loosely. This was horrible. And I'm pretty exhausted, I must admit. It's been quite a long run for us, covering an entire year. This is the first time we've sat down and just gone through an entire year. The invasion angle was good stuff. I enjoyed that, but that was a little bit short for us. That was, 5 or 6 shows. This is, I think we've 14. Covered 14 pay-per-views. We covered 14 episodes of Manic Mondays. We've really gone all in with the Walking Dead format. We started with 6 episodes, but the next series has been 14. Coming up in Series 3, we cover every Saudi Arabia show. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, it's been a long haul, and this really pissed me off because I just thought, really? Like, it's been a bit of a slog at times, and I'll tell you what, I will say one thing, because let's pretty much round off 2004 now. This is basically, because this is the last one for a while. Ultimately, I think 2004 is one of the more overrated years in wrestling. People talk about it and they speak about it so fondly. Even on our social media recently, people were ranting about it and saying, oh, it's such an amazing year. Like, it's actually not. Just because Eddie Guerrero won the title, I think people have this mystique about it. Like, oh, Eddie Guerrero was champion. Everything was right in the world. And it certainly gave us iconic moments, especially involved, like, there were some really iconic moments. Eddie Guerrero beating Brock Lesnar for the title. Benoit winning the Rumble. That moment at the end of WrestleMania where the two of them embrace as the champions of the company. Randy Orton, of course, with Mick Foley. Incredible moment. And also knocking off Benoit to win his first ever World Heavyweight Championship. And at the time, become the youngest ever WWE champion of any kind in the company. Other than Rene Dupree, obviously. But we'll forget about that. Or Nicholas. And ultimately, if you take those moments away, it's actually a very subpar and very boring year. There was way too much nonsense, overbooked shenanigans, idiocy. We're starting to see the build of people like Edge, which is good. But ultimately, we're a couple of years removed from the SmackDown 6 era. Remember when SmackDown was really good, 2002, and, you had Kurt Angle, Benoit, Chavo, and Edge, and Rey Mysterio, and it was fantastic. That was a really, really good time period for WWE, especially SmackDown. This is very lopsided. I started really dreading every SmackDown show because they had no talent. The SmackDown shows were terrible by comparison. And this is a show that had Eddie Guerrero and The Undertaker, for fuck's sake. They made J.B.L. They made
Rey
J.B.L.
Mysterio, Rob Van Dam.
Yeah, exactly. When you think about it, it sounds like it's stacked, but the booking was horrendous. They tried to make SmackDown. It's almost like they deliberately sabotaged it. And you wonder why, because ultimately, SmackDown would end up becoming a bit of a redheaded stepchild to WWE for a long time, even up until like about a year or so ago. Fox is in control now, but ultimately it's still a bit pants, if you ask me. But, it's now kind of a big money spinner for them, which is why they try and load it up. But for many, many years, it was taped SmackDown. And this ultimately led to it just kind of being shit canned. People just kind of thought, oh, well, I'll watch Raw and find out what happened on SmackDown. I'll just watch some highlights or whatever. Nobody really cared. SmackDown got really low ratings. And I think a lot of the damage was done in this year. They really treated it with a lot of disrespect. There was very much an attitude of, fuck SmackDown, it's a load of shit. It's almost like they got pissed off at the fact that Paul Heyman made SmackDown so good. So they were like, fuck you. And they just buried their own brand, because that makes really good business sense, doesn't it? Fucking ridiculous. Utterly pointless. Disappointing, all in all, for 2004. I enjoyed covering it, absolutely. I've had some wicked times, some right laughs with yourself, obviously, especially this podcast alone. Fuck me. I have really hit cocaine mode for this final episode. But yeah, ultimately, 2004 is a massive disappointment in so many ways, and people are going to remember it so magically for 2 or 3 moments. But ultimately, the quality of wrestling's not that good, and when it is, it's completely overshadowed by carny nonsense and stupid booking and bad creative. And ultimately, this is a year where they opted to push J.B.L. and Sylvain Grenier and Rene Dupree and Kenzo Suzuki. These people are not title caliber wrestlers. They never were, and for some reason WWE put a lot of faith in them. And the fact that J.B.L., who literally the majority of his career, from what I can tell, allegedly, is him getting into showers and fingering young boys and basically being a rapey piece of shit, and WWE decided, let's give that guy the belt, let's make him the champion of the company. Terrible, absolutely terrible. And the World Heavyweight Championship wasn't doing much better. They put it on Benoit. Absolute vacuum of charisma, and ultimately he was thrown against people that he just couldn't do well with, people like Kane and Triple H, guys who were more sports entertainers than really good thoroughbred technical wrestlers. And funnily enough, for me, probably the highlight of this entire year, outside of the special moments, which people all remember, is the Kane, Matt Hardy and Lita nonsense, because although it's horrible, it's fucking entertaining. And I got to see Gene Snitsky punt a child into the audience. And I got to see Heidenreich. And funnily enough, the carnival nonsense of it and the WCW-esque 2000 nonsense they threw in there ended up kind of being the highlight of what was a pretty shoddy year. So, yeah, thanks for nothing, 2004.
Yeah, it was a year of moments. Like, we thought this was really the year of the rise of Orton, and we got to see him as IC champ, and we got to see kind of a little bit of stuff with him and Edge, and then we obviously got his build through to become world champion, knocking off Benoit, and then he drops it after a month to Triple H, and then he has kind of a great cage match with Flair. But it's one of those years where, yeah, Orton did pretty well. Obviously won the world title. He had the IC title reign. He was the sort of final survivor at Survivor Series and a good cage match with Ric Flair. But he had a title reign that was a month in length. Benoit's title reign was extremely non-memorable. You're completely right. As much as he did the best that he could with Triple H, and he did the best that he could with Kane, and he had some stuff with Shawn Michaels, although, in multi-man matches on a pay-per-view, he didn't have a one match with him on a pay-per-view. You're looking and saying, why isn't he in there with Chris Jericho? Like, even going in there with someone like Christian, who's a good technician and a good worker of that style, like, you could have built Christian to be at that level quite conceivably on Raw. It almost feels that Benoit was champion on the wrong brand. And actually having Benoit, as a champion on SmackDown, feuding with someone like Eddie Guerrero, it feels like they should have been switched, to be honest. Like, Eddie would have had much better matches with Triple H and Kane because he was a much better sports entertainer and was much more charismatic. And you could have had, Benoit in there with Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar on the SmackDown side of things, which would have been phenomenal. And he would have offered something completely different to J.B.L. as well. But instead, we got it sort of the wrong way round. And even Eddie's title reign, like, after the match with Kurt Angle at WrestleMania, like, it wasn't that great because he went into J.B.L. pretty quickly. They had a couple of pay-per-view matches, and then J.B.L. picks up the title and runs with it for a really long time. Tag team wrestling is an absolute joke in this year. Obviously, we knew what the women's stuff was going to be. We got some sneaky good stuff from Victoria and Molly Holly, who had a good match at WrestleMania, for instance. We had a decent 6-woman match, which was okay, with Trish and Lita and Gail Kim in there. Like, they had good workers and good talent. They just didn't give them the platform and the time. And a lot of it was just completely overrun by awful commentary talking about their tit. You didn't have the hardcore title at this point, which at least was a real fun championship. The mid-card on SmackDown was utter dross, even with, the likes of John Cena and Booker T dominating the US title for a decent period. It was still dross. Rey Mysterio was chronically misused in the second half of the year. Rob Van Dam was a tag team wrestler all year. We didn't see him in anything else other than a brief flirtation with the US title, I think. It was just fucking dreadful for so long, so much of it. And as you say, I really did start to... it was hard to motivate myself to watch the SmackDown pay-per-views to cover them because the cards were just so poor. And there was such a lack of star power, especially if, like on Armageddon, everything was stacked in one match and there wasn't much going on anywhere else. Like, Kurt Angle had a shocking year, obviously had the injury. You had Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar in this year, which was one of the worst WrestleMania matches of all time. Like, this WrestleMania 20 was toss. Well, it was a shocking WrestleMania. There are moments that are iconic in this year, but that doesn't mean that this year is iconic. And I think that's what people get confused, in my opinion. They think, this year was great. Eddie, Benoit. We had the return of the Phenom. We had, you had Kane getting raped by Lita, marrying her rapist, having a fake miscarriage from a fake pregnancy. Like, that was probably your best storyline of the year. That is fucking shocking. That is fucking ridiculous. But WWE, everybody. You had no Jeff Hardy in this year that I can remember. Like, Jeff wasn't there. the Dudleys were a joke. Like, Matt Hardy did some okay stuff in the Kane storyline and stuff with Lita, but wasn't really much going on with Matt Hardy. Like, just looking around, and this was a year where it was very noticeable that the stars were gone, and the one person who was determined that he was the star was Triple H. And he was such a shit on Raw. He was a fucking dick. Eugene. There was fucking Eugene in this year. Oh, honestly. 2004 can suck a ball. Some great moments, but for the most part, really, really poor, particularly on pay-per-view. Maybe the Raws and SmackDowns were better, but it did not translate well into pay-per-view matches and segments for the most part. Just a load of absolute toss.
Yeah. Yeah, I must admit, I'm fucking exhausted. Just absolutely knackered, and yeah, just 2004 can now go fuck itself. But ultimately, we did cover the whole thing, so can't really complain. Should we let the audience know what we're doing next, or should we let them sweat on it?
No, we should. We should let them know, but we can't give them a specific date as to when this next series of Manic Mondays is going to arrive. But we will, yes, there will be another series of Manic Mondays. I shall let you announce the decision that we have come to. Because we haven't asked you lot, because fuck you.
Yeah, we tried that, and you used to give us a load of shit. Although I will say one thing, I reckon Armageddon completely usurps WCW Sin 2001 for me.
It's not far off, I have to say.
Because at least you get the
shit.
I remember the rage that you had for Sin. Well, I think I've equaled, if not beaten that, with my rage for Armageddon. I brought my own form of Armageddon. I would have much rather gone back to Armageddon 99 when fucking Big Show had his daddy's fucking coffin taken from him by Big Boss Man, ladies and gentlemen. Jesus Christ almighty. So yeah, Manic Mondays will return. We don't have a specific date yet, obviously, because Mr. Deal here will be taking a hiatus from the Wrestle Plug to deal with personal matters, which means, of course, that we shall wait and see. However, we have decided to pick an era which we are very excited about, and that, of course, ladies and gentlemen, is, drum roll please, never mind. I don't know how you put in a sound effect here. Fuck off, whatever. So basically, we are going to be covering the era of the Attitude where Austin was missing, essentially. We're going to be covering pretty much the entirety of 2000. Which is going to be exciting. The reason we picked that is because, one, it's a fucking amazing era, absolutely fucking heaving with brilliance and talent and everything else, and also because if we do something like 2004 again, we might have manic suicidal depression on our hands for the rest of our lives. And so ultimately, me and Steve have picked something that we love, that we have great memories of, and we're looking forward to delving back in and seeing if it really holds up after all this time. We'll be covering a lot of great things. The first kind of era of Triple H trying to take over the show, the wonderful rivalry between him and The Rock, including that incredible Iron Man match. There's obviously the birth of TLC, the Triangle Ladder match, the real meat and potatoes of that incredible tag team division involving Edge and Christian, the Hardys and the Dudleys. So many great things at a mid-card that people cared about, of course, and there is a splashing of Stone Cold Steve Austin as well. He does make some returns and pops up, but we sort of, I don't know, should we just do 2000, or are we going to start with the pay-per-view where Austin gets run over?
Yeah, I guess if we start at Survivor Series 99 and we'll go through and maybe cover his comeback with Rikishi, I think his comeback is, but I mean, there's so much good stuff in this year. We've got, like, there was Rock Benoit, there was the rivalry with Triple H and fucking Chris Jericho, Triple H and Cactus Jack, Triple H and Kurt Angle, Jericho, Angle and Benoit. There was so much. It was a poor WrestleMania, but that 2 out of 3 falls for the Euro-Continental titles of Kurt Angle.
And the Triangle Ladder match.
Triangle Ladder match at SummerSlam that year.
Not
and
to mention Godfather and D'Lo Brown as a tag team.
Yeah, baby. Plus, we get the American Badass Undertaker's debut. We get, because for, the first part of 2000 and the last part of 99, Undertaker is injured. He's missing as well. No Undertaker or Stone Cold. And of course, that means we get to cover Armageddon 99. And the main event is Triple H versus Vince McMahon in a street fight for the honor of Stephanie, who Triple H has date raped, married in a drive-thru.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Rape angles.
Yes.
No.
Yes. And it's the turn of Stephanie, the heel turn of Stephanie, the beginning of the authority.
Haas Test is about to get his heart broken.
Haas Test. We get T and A to make up for it. Test and Albert with Trish.
The debut of Trish.
Oh, yes. We've got Lita running around with S.A. Rios before she joins up with the Hardys.
Yeah, her debut as well.
There's so much good stuff, man. Like, there's so much good stuff. And I think I saw a card on one of the pay-per-views in 2000. It might have been one of the UK shows, which was the Cat versus, I think it was Terry Runnels in an arm wrestling match. This is the kind of brutal content that I'm here for. But there's so much good stuff in the course of 2000. Genuinely, really, really good wrestling. I think William Regal, does he come in at the back end of 2000 as well? He comes in 2000.
No, he comes in 99. Very early 99, William Regal
He's
was
around.
Yeah, he's hovering around. I do believe he's still a man. A real man's man.
Yeah, I think he turns like halfway through the year, doesn't he, to the whole Duchess of Marlborough.
Yeah, I really hope he's still got the fucking hard hat on when we start, because that is just fucking money. It's absolute money. So yeah, we're going to start with the show, of course, where Austin gets run down with a car, obviously due to his neck injury, and we'll work our way through from there all the way through to Austin's return. So basically, we're going to have a look at what the Attitude Era did to combat the fact that they did not have Stone Cold around every week to help garner and boost ratings, and ultimately what they did was pretty special. Now, obviously, there's going to be quite a gap between this Manic Mondays and the next one. We don't know how long. We will obviously keep you updated. Steve will let me know when he's available. Now, I will still be on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry. I'll be covering. Sorry about that. I'll be having a plethora of different guests helping me out, people getting involved, which is nice. So you'll get to hear quite a unique and different period. Hopefully you still enjoy it as much. Steve will drop in when he obviously can, and obviously we wish him very well. We know that he'll crack on. As far as 2000 goes, it's very likely there's going to be quite a gap. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, I remember that show in 2000. I remember that nonsense at the back in the 1999. I remember Big Boss Man stealing the Big Show's daddy. Well, fucking let us know about it. Message the Wrestle Plug. We'll put that stuff aside. We'll make sure that stuff is put there and it's ready to go, so that when we do cover these shows on Manic Mondays, when we do record them, we'll make sure that we include all of your thoughts. So if you've got any thoughts about that period from Survivor Series 1999 essentially through to, I believe, No Mercy 2000, then
it's almost a year.
Let us know. Yeah, it is pretty much almost a year. And if you'd like to look at the card, we may do the next one. We've already covered Armageddon 2000 for the pay-per-view with a 6-man Hell in a Cell, so obviously, we may just do a quick recap or something, whatever. We'll see how it goes. But ultimately, the main crux of what we'll be doing is Survivor Series 99 through to No Mercy 2000. So if you remember anything from that time period and you want to check it out, make sure you send in your thoughts and your opinions. What did you think of main event level Triple H? What did you think of the return of DX? What do you think of Lita and the Hardys, that crazy tag team division? What do you think of Right to Censor? Oh, yes, baby.
Oh. The Radicals.
Yeah, there's
Eddie
so
Guerrero
much
in China.
Shit.
King Kurt.
Oh, man. Yeah. And also, it's a really violent era, of course. Cactus Jack and Triple H and some really violent. And also, the hardcore title will be in full swing as well, which I'm very excited about. Crash Holly is going to be all over this. Not to mention Shane McMahon getting up to absolute fucking nonsense. This is when Shane McMahon was great, ladies and gentlemen. This is when he was money.
Head
not the
cheese.
prick that we have now. Head cheese. Yes. Fucking head cheese, too cool, Rikishi, all the mid-carders you actually gave a shit about, T and A. Whoa. T Oh,
fucking Edge,
so
Christian and Kurt.
Oh, there's so much to it. So much. I think you even get a spot of the Brood. Very
We've
nice.
got
You
there's
definitely get a Gangrel.
intergender wrestling as well. There's
Yeah,
all
and
kinds
naked
of stuff.
Midian.
Mate, there's
Naked.
actually Naked Midian versus William Regal on one of the cards, and
My
I
body's
cannot
ready for
wait
that.
for that shit.
If
That's
anyone's
gonna
going to make
amazing.
that work, it's going to be William Regal.
Yeah,
His face.
100%.
His besmirchment face will be. We get to see. We get to see so much good shit. So much good shit. It's going to be fucking awesome. And obviously, ladies and gentlemen, we will keep you posted on that. Until then, that's it for Manic Mondays. Say goodbye to us for now. We will be back, of course. We've got plenty of shows to cover, indie shows coming up. Carl Wilkinson's going to be coming on to talk about Destiny because he's going to a few of those shows, and we'll endeavour to see what we can throw out there. But we've got loads of interviews coming through, so there's a very good chance that the interviews will be taking the place of the shows on a Monday. But most likely, the only guaranteed show we can give you is every Thursday. Of course, the State of Wrestling Address will not be going anywhere. I'll be covering that, whether it be solo or with a surprise guest. We might even, if we're lucky, have Nick Payne pull his thumb out of his lazy Essex arse and get back on a fucking podcast. Don't tell me you've got things to do, Nick Payne. Be a father, please. That's not a fucking responsibility, not for you. You are the child, mate. Your fucking missus has to look after you, you baby. Anyway, nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, State of Wrestling Address will continue on a Thursday. And that leads me to say, Steve Neal, thank you very much for covering all of 2004 for Manic Mondays, mate. I am thrilled that you'll at least be coming back to cover 2000. This isn't goodbye for Steve Neal, by the way. He's not pissing off and leaving the podcast forever, but he will be taking a pretty lengthy hiatus with the odd guest appearance, no doubt, spliced in between. So thank you very much, mate, for tolerating what's been an astonishingly underwhelming year of having content.
Mate, we've done it before and we'll do it again. But no, it was it was good fun. It was good to kind of get on and go back and kind of relive it. And there's a lot of stuff that I missed. There's a lot of stuff that I'd forgotten. And it was interesting to go back and see all that stuff. So I'm happy that we got a chance to do it. I'm far happier that we get a chance to do 2000. My body is ready for that. I'm literally buzzing to sit and watch all of those pay-per-views. And I'll probably end up sitting and watching the Raw and SmackDowns as well in between because the storylines were great. Can't wait. But yes, mate, as you say, it is not exactly going to be forever. It's just a period of time. Let things settle, let the dust settle down, and then I'll be back on, and we'll have some stuff going out. We'll have a Let's Talk Some Shit coming out. May have already been out, maybe coming out later, don't know. And yeah, I'll be back on State of Wrestling Address at some point on a semi-regular basis, along with other guest hosts and seeing how things go. And I'm sure that I'll be still trying to get to some Reach shows as they roll around and throwing them out as well to keep up the indie content. So I shall still have a bit of a presence. It's just going to be somewhat reduced for a little while until things get settled, my feet are under me, and I can get back to it. But yes, mate, thank you for giving me the break, I guess, that I'm going to need. And then we shall be back to cover fucking Hardy Boys versus the Dudley Boys in the first ever tag team table match. It's going to be fucking, fap in my face.
That's the way Steve Neal should leave this podcast. A very welcome break to you, sir. I wish you the very, very best, and obviously I'll be in contact with you regularly anyway, so it'll be absolutely fine.
Yes.
But yes, I'll be holding down the fort, ladies and gentlemen, don't worry, and Steve will be adulting and doing proper things with his life instead of sitting there like a giant sweaty cheese like I do, watching a large amount of naked men basically rolling around in their spandex. Oh yeah. Anyway, 2004 is done, ladies and gentlemen. That means the time machine is finally fixed, that we can go back to 2020 for a bit before we head back to a decent time period. And then you can ask us, what would happen if Steve Neal assassinated Vince McMahon in 2000? What kind of wrestling show would we get? You'll find out when Manic Mondays returns. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, back in the time machine, back to 2020, and we'll catch you very soon, very, very soon in the future for more nonsense, technically, in the past from Manic Mondays.